What's up, guys? Welcome to the Put Me In Coach podcast,
where we go beyond the headlines and deep dive everything NFL.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Andy.
Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. All right, welcome. What's going on, brother?
Not a ton. How you doing?
I'm living the dream, man. We're 1 week into the season, so now we're entering week 2, and I feel like a lot of the kinks are going to start being ironed out in the next few weeks, and a lot of totally truth will come to light. It's exciting. It's a real fun time.
Yeah, it is.
Guys, we're going to have these every week, so like, comment, subscribe, give it a follow. We're going to be doing predictions, game breakdowns, hot takes, I don't know what else, pretty much everything. We're a new channel, so we're just kind of throwing shit at the wall for now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a ton of content, so please subscribe. And yeah, man, let's dive into the week 2 NFL predictions, some takes for these games.
Yes, sir.
49ers versus Vikings. I think 49ers Vikings is, to me, I mean, I know we're trying to predict winners and losers for this week, but I think the problem is with some of these, it's like 49ers ain't losing this game, right? Like,
I don't think so. I mean, the Vikings the last couple of years have played the Niners very well. Like, they beat them last year.
Good point.
You know, I think the Kevin O'Connell. I think Kevin O'Connell and Kyle Shanahan, because they're so close, I think it turns into a bit of a chess match between the two of them, where they really both bring their A game when it comes to like scheming up offense, and it usually becomes an offensive, very offensive game between the two of them. But I don't know, that Niners defense just looked so like they looked mid-season form the other day against the Jets, man. They looked like they just got whatever they wanted, and it was, they made Aaron's life hell. And that doesn't bode well when Sam Darnold's your quarterback. And I think Sam can play, but the reality is that Sam was on the Niners last year, and although he didn't play much, I think he only had a couple of series throughout the actual season. Kyle saw him in practice every single day, and he's going to know Tennessee's weaknesses. Yeah. So
who's that beat reporter that said that Sam Darnold, you know what I'm talking about? The San Francisco beat reporter last year who said that Sam Darnold was the best thrower of the football in San Francisco 49ers history. That was kind of a wild take. We'll see.
Sam's frustrating, man. He's somebody who I think has all the talent in the world. It's like he just can't get out of his own way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if you could just turn your brain off and just hoop, you could be the best quarterback. I mean, look at what he did last week, right? Yeah. He looked great. What did he start the game, like 12 for 12 or something like that? I mean,
yeah. Accurate, and everybody will
efficient. Everybody will say, "Whoa, they played the Giants." It's like, yeah, but the Giants have a decent defense. Like the Giants' offense is what's stinky about them. Their defense is like pretty solid. So, I don't know.
And Aaron Jones hasn't gotten hurt yet, and boy, did he look good in week 1, right? It's sort of like you almost bank on Aaron Jones going down.
I thought moving off of Aaron Jones was a funny move for Josh Jacobs, who hadn't been good last year and didn't look great in week 1, but. Yeah, time will tell. I mean, Aaron Jones will get hurt, week 4, week 5. That's typically when it happens. And then he's out until week 9, and then he'll come back for 4 weeks, and then he'll be hurt again. Then he'll come back and pop off an unbelievable stretch of games. It's typically what happens with Aaron Jones. So
yeah,
we'll see.
They'll be getting Hawkinson back probably around that time too. So it's like this team's gonna be a tough out. And Brian Flores, man.
They're going to be pesky.
I told you guys this defense was going to play better than it is. And the thing about Flores is he struggles against really good quarterbacks because they know how to recognize what he's doing. But you saw it last week against Daniel Jones. If a quarterback is mid to trash, he will feast because he knows how to disguise shit. And that defense tore it up. And I'm with you. I mean, it just feels a little bit too much. I don't know. We might be back into 49ers rolling again. It sucks.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna win, but I do think they'll keep it relatively close. I mean, it might. It feels like one of those games where the final score might not like reflect what really happened. You know what I mean? Yeah. It could end up being like a 32 to 17 game or something, but you're like, yeah, but the Niners pulled away in the final 6 minutes of the game and scored a couple of touchdowns and hit a field goal to kind of end it.
Yeah.
And here's how it ended. And it's like, yeah, but the Vikings were really in it until the middle of the fourth. So I don't know. That's kind of my prediction with the game. I think it'll be a good game to watch, honestly.
Yeah, we're looking for good Sam Darnold play and Jefferson catches. That's what I want to see. I don't really care about the rest. Seahawks versus Patriots. Seahawks Patriots is an interesting one here because obviously, yeah. I mean, it sucks. It's not an exciting game by any means, but I think Kenny Walker it's battle of the defensive minds, battle of the defensive teams. Frankly, it's always tough when you have two teams playing each other whose respective best units are their DBs, right? Yeah. It's kind of like, battle of the defensive backfields, like, boo.
Yeah.
No Kenny Walker for Seattle. I think ultimately this is going to come down to the fact I'd pick Seattle to win it simply because I don't know that the Patriots have a second gear behind running Ramondre Stevenson into the ground. And I think against Cincinnati's defense, which is, more on them later, I think maybe in some hot water here at this point, I think Seattle's defense is so fundamentally sound that I think Seattle could score 14 points in this game and win it. So totally I think they'll have just enough with Geno. I think Charbonnet will fill in okay for Kenny Walker. It won't be as exciting, but I think this is going to be a poopy slugfest. It's going to be a mud wrestling game where it's 17 to 13, and it's going to be Seattle just because they're a touchdown better.
Agreed. I totally agree.
But hey, you cross your fingers for some fireworks, man. Both teams have some fun players. So, Giants versus Commanders.
Yes, they do.
Speaking of poopy mud, let's get to the toilet. Well, yeah, I would say this is the toilet bowl of the week. Let's be real. Giants Commanders. NFC East showdown. NFC Least show. This is kind of a throwback to remember when it was the NFC Least before the Cowboys and the Eagles got better? Remember that when we were younger? We used to call it the NFC Least. This is kind of a throwback to that, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Man, this is hard to say. I feel like the Giants have been doing a lot of this all week, and that's crazy because they suck. I mean, you're like objectively like your absolute and utter ceiling is like 6 wins, and you got completely roadhoused by the Vikings, who like we just said are not any world beater of a team. Pesky, but not somebody who we expect to be a playoff juggernaut or even a division winner. And you come off of it, and Kayvon Thibodeau saying, well, I don't really see them as a rival. Like, we beat them all the time. And Deonte Banks is saying, they could have drafted me at 16. Like, they're garbage, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but you guys are garbage.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be garbage and call somebody else garbage. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And the Commanders have been quiet all week, right? Like, they're not saying anything. And frankly, the Giants should win this game, but would it surprise me like crazy if they didn't? If the Commanders just came out there and JD5 felt a little more comfortable because it's not, a Todd Bowles defense. It's a Brian Daboll, offensive-minded team.
Yeah,
it wouldn't shock me.
No, it wouldn't shock me either. I'm gonna go the other way. I'll pick the Giants.
That's fair. That's the right pick. But
yeah, well, I mean, but it's
you know
not.
What I'm saying,
but it's not though. I mean, there is no right pick. These teams both seem like total hot ass. I mean, let's keep it a buck. Like, I think the difference for me is like, I think Flores really confused Daniel Jones last week, and that was kind of the difference in them competing in that game. I think they'll go back to the drawing board. Look, man, I know Daniel Jones sucks and everyone hates him. I know there's good football in there. I've seen it. And I just think against this defense, Forbes, I'm not even sure this is actually a bad thing, but Manuel Forbes has been ruled out for this game. This Washington Commanders roster is awful, man. I think there's a real chance that Daboll can call a game enough that maybe they can get a couple touchdowns to Neighbors. Maybe they can run a couple of plays and just kind of get out of there with a win.
Agree.
One thing before we get out of here with them that I'm really looking for is already in week 1, you saw the special with Jaden Daniels. And I told you guys that this team was going to be bad, but that's what you're looking out for. And we saw it week 1. I mean, he ran for, 100 yards damn near and 2 touchdowns. The Lamar stuff's already showing its head. I want to see a passing attack. I want to see it. And this defensive backfield in New York sucks. This is the week that win, lose, or draw, I need to see a couple hundred yards, some completions, and a couple touchdown passes from Jaden Daniels in this game for me to start. Like, that's what I'm looking for Washington. But I do think their roster is really bad. So I can't pick them to win anything right now.
Fair enough.
Chargers versus Panthers. Man, this is a rough slate for the early games. We have Chargers Panthers here. Do your worst, I guess. Who you taking?
Chargers.
Yeah.
Chargers, they're going to smash mouth football, run it down their throats. They'll have no answer. You know, Derek Barnes, season-ending injury. You have no other players on defense that are worth a damn because you traded Brian Burns, and you guys suck.
Their run defense is horrid too.
It's horrid and
a big mismatch.
Yeah, I mean it's J.K. Dobbins is just gonna run all over him. Gus Edwards is gonna run all over him. It's not gonna be a fun game.
No,
it'll be very boring. But I do like the Chargers to win it.
Yeah, I'm with you, right? And it's funny because we talk. You know, you and I are big draft junkies, and we always talk all these draft picks and these quarterbacks, and we're so into like rookie prospects and stuff like that. I mean, it's what it is. Like we're fucking dweebs.
Yeah.
But didn't it kind of feel like the week 1 rookie of the year? Like, you know, if we're doing like, you remember in like the old NBA Live games, you would have like, you know, player of the week. You'd always go to see if your guy got it in Madden, you know, franchise mode. Didn't it feel like rookie of the week, offensive rookie of the week was Joe Alt?
Control, Alt, Delete, baby.
Wasn't it?
Completely
Wasn't it Joe Alt?
Removed. Yeah, of course it was
Joe
Alt.
And it's like, who do they have?
I said this on Twitter, right when they showed the stats for him against Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. Yeah, and it was very clear that, you know, everybody jumped on the Twitterverse and said, "Oh my gosh, the Harbaugh's so stupid." No. What you need to realize is that we know Harbaugh, and we know that he loves the trenches, which is what every good team is. That's where you start. You start with the trenches. Yep. You get a Creed Humphreys, and you get a Chris Jones. You get an Aiden Hutchinson, and you get a Penei Sewell. You know what I mean? You get a Tyler Lindenberg, and you get a you know, what's the guy's name? Roquan Smith. You know what I mean? Like you get a piece on the defense, you get a piece on the offense, and you build it from there. So
yeah.
My thing is
they've got two on that offensive line.
They've got two, and Justin Herbert had light years to. I mean, he had forever to pass, and he didn't even have to because there's these mega lanes. I mean, J.K. Dobbins looked like LaDainian Tomlinson last week.
Yeah,
and now you got to go play the Panthers. Oh my gosh,
easy money.
Yeah, that's
the easiest pick of the week. Yeah, I'm with you. And, you know, it's something we talked about, too, in our preseason video. I mean, I don't think this is one of those takes that is going to only continue to kind of, like, fine wine, kind of, like, continue to sort of, like, age better, like, with each passing week. I don't think there's any overstating how bad of a coach Brandon Staley was. Because, again, Jesse Minter had that defense flying last week, didn't he?
Yeah, fully.
Yeah, they looked good, man. I told you guys, Jesse Minter is not a slouch. There's a reason Jim brought him over. So it's a team to keep an eye on. Look, I've said it. I'm going to maintain my consistency here. You know, maybe I'm wrong. I'll always pivot, you know, December if I'm wrong. I'll take a lap. But I just don't think they have the horses yet. But, I mean, they're a better team already, are they not?
100%.
Yeah,
so
they
went out there and granted they played the Vegas Raiders, who I think are a very bad team.
Sure.
Offensively, at least. I think defensively they're pretty good. And it was kind of an ugly, sloppy game until about the middle of the third, and then the Chargers kind of figured out what they could do, and they ended up running away with it. But yeah, I mean, hey, bro, again, it's smash mouth football. There's no way to stop it. We watched Jim do this with Michigan 15 games last year. I'm gonna just run it down your throat. 50 fucking times, and if you don't like it, stop it. And
yeah, and they won't.
With a Joe Alt and a Rashawn Slater combination, good luck. You know, like it's just not gonna happen, man.
Yep. Saints versus Cowboys. Saints Cowboys is interesting, I think, to other people, not so much to me. I think part of the reason why people are interested in this game this week, and I do get it, absolute domination by the Saints. If you listen to John Middlecoff, he does the 3 and Out podcast, really great show. I think that guy's awesome. He's been kind of touting the Saints all off season because of the Kubiak signing, who's of that Shanahan tree and kind of runs a West Coast offense. I will say, for what it's worth, Derek Carr did look better last week, but I know Derek Carr is capable of having good games. My issue with the Saints, I see it unraveling as the season goes on due to age, due to attrition, due to chemistry. I'm concerned that Chris Olave played no role in that win. Again, it's 1 week. For me, you said it and I said it kind of going into this year. Everybody sold their Dallas stock because they didn't sign an offseason running back. And I do understand a lot of this. I just think Dallas is going to roll again regular season. I mean, we're not talking playoffs yet, but...
And the Browns have a top 3 defense. I mean, granted, week 1's tough because it's kind of like the first preseason game, right? It's like you're not in rhythm and yada, yada, yada. They look just fine. And I think the Saints will come back down to earth because you're not playing the Panthers. Panthers don't have a defense. I mean, we think that J.C. Horn's supposed to be good at some point. He's been whatever thus far. And again, Derek Barnes, their best defensive player, went down with a knee injury and he's out for the season. So now you got to go up and play Micah Parsons, and you got to go up and play Deron Bland and the Diggs kid.
Bland is out, but it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, Bland is injured, but still, Diggs is playing, right?
Yep, and he got a pick last week.
There you go, Trayvon. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So I don't know.
I think Zimmer. We talked about this too. I kind of mentioned it. I mean, one of the big things too, that was kind of the other component, was like, it was obviously the Lamb holdout stuff and the Dak looming stuff and the lack of free agency moves and all that. And I do get that. But another big talking point was like they lost Dan Quinn, and I don't know, man. I think Zimmer is going to be a really great fit as a defensive 100%. Coordinator. Don't buy him as a head coach, but he's kind of in that Spagnuolo category where, like, I think we're going to be looking up at this defense again, and it's going to be kind of the same shit as last year of, like, totally against teams that don't have good offenses, this defense pins its ears back and feasts. And I think the Saints offense will be better because I think Carmichael's a fucking joke at offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But there's no way the Saints are going into AT&T Stadium and winning that game. That's just my take on it. So I'm with you. Colts versus Packers. Colts Packers at Lambeau Field. Kind of a bummer, man, because I feel like with Jordan Love, this is a really fun matchup offensively between these two teams. Without it, just feels like I don't know if I see Malik Willis like pulling it off. I have so much respect for LaFleur, and I think this team is really, really good offensively. I just don't think they have a dominant. I know they don't have a dominant defense. I don't even know if they have a decent defense that they can lean on in these few weeks. I don't think Love's going to miss that much time. It was a grade 1. I don't know if you saw that. It came out with it. Yeah. It's a grade 1 sprain. He'll probably be back. He'll miss this game, the next game, and he'll probably be right back in the lineup. I think this team is going to win some games. But because your defense sucks, I don't see it. You know, so I'm going to take the Colts. What say you?
I'm also going to take the Colts. Malik Willis can't win an NFL game. It's not possible. It's just not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Your game plan as a defensive coordinator is going to be, okay, they're going to have to run the ball, so I can just pretty much just stack the box, and if they dare throw it, I guess. Malik Willis will not be accurate and will not be hitting guys in stride. You know what I mean? Like anything's possible in the NFL. I don't personally see it. We've seen Malik Willis play. He's pretty bad. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, the Titans were like, get out of here, like and their quarterback didn't look any good last week for real. So it's one of those situations where I think if you had even a competent backup, a Ryan Tannehill or something, it makes it a little more interesting because we saw a lot of inconsistencies with the Colts last week, but it was still, they scored a lot of points, right? They still got a couple of touchdowns, 22 points on the board or whatever it ended up being. So yeah, I think it'll be the Colts.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it just doesn't, I got to see it with Green Bay until I pick them to win a game without Jordan.
For sure.
But I think with Love, I'd probably take the Packers at home. So it's an interesting.
I would take the Packers, but I think the Colts might hit a lucky little bump here.
Yep. Browns versus Jaguars. This is an interesting matchup for me, I think, with Cleveland Jacksonville, because doesn't it feel like these two, for both of us, like we almost share this mutual thing with both of these squads, where it's like you sort of squint your eyes at a distance and you're like, now that's a football team. But once you like get up to it, you're like, oh, this team kind of sucks. Like, I feel like both of these teams are that in different aspects, right? Like the Browns, they have this really good defense, but then, you've kind of been waiting for 3 years for like Watson to like return to form. It's not going to happen. Chubb's leg is broken, so he's out right now, and he's their best offensive player. You got O-line injuries, right? Like offensively, I'm out on the Browns completely, and the defense didn't look very good last week either. So you might be in real trouble. And then Jacksonville, right? Looked great in the first half. Trevor's tearing it up. Brian Thomas Jr. catches a touchdown. Travis Etienne is getting yards. And then they come out in the second half and completely give the game away to Miami, who had no business winning that game. So it's sort of like the battle of the frauds, I think. Two teams that going into this season we were really excited about in certain respects, not as true Super Bowl contenders, but like both teams really disappointed me week one in different ways. I'll leave it at that. But who do you pick in this game? Jacksonville's at home.
I'm going to take Jacksonville because I just don't believe in the Browns offense, even kind of. Problem is, it's a must-win for both teams, and I know that's kind of crazy to say in week two, but it's an absolute and utter fact. It's a must-win, especially if the Texans go start off 2-0. Luckily you had the Colts and the Titans lose, but again, I think like we just said, right? I think the Colts are going to win. So you're already. The race started already, right? And you don't want to see a team that barely etched you out last year in the division race start 2-0, and you guys start 0-2.
Right. Yeah.
And the same applies to the Browns, right? Like you're talking about two divisions that we picked at the beginning of the year to be very tight divisions and kind of come down to those last few weeks amongst the other teams. So if you start 0-2 and what if Pittsburgh goes on and wins again? And what if Cincinnati goes and wins this week, or Baltimore goes and wins this week? Things just start getting funky, and it's hard to catch up from that 0-2 start. Statistically speaking, if you do start 0-2, your chances of making the playoffs are very, very, very low.
Yeah, it's rare. It's rare. You're like that Giants team in 2007 that went on to win the Super Bowl after starting 0-2, but it doesn't. You don't really see it, and I think you're right. I mean, in that division, again, you and I don't believe in Pittsburgh for real, but if they start out 2-0, it's like that defense is dominant. Like, who's to say they can't bullshit their way into 10 wins?
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it's not possible. I mean, Cincinnati looks like dog water, but do we think that's going to last all season? I don't. It's the same thing. I'm with you. Kind of the same thing. I'm going to take Jacksonville. I think the difference being I've seen two bad halves of football played by Cleveland, two awful halves, and I've seen one really good half from Jacksonville. So I have a little more to hang my hat on. You feel me?
They're at home. They're at home. Yeah. I think they'll be a little more.
I think they gave that game away last week.
Lead. No, 100% they did.
They did.
And I still believe in Cleveland's defense. If they start gelling, they can make Trevor's life hell. But again, I think you have the worst quarterback in the NFL on Cleveland's side. The kid can't play. It's
Bryce would like a word.
Yeah, but at least Bryce still. I could still have hope with Bryce.
I know.
You know what I
It's
mean?
over. It's over. And the allegations coming back out again. It's like, just go away.
It's just weird. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Jacksonville wins it.
Yeah, I feel like I was early, and again, I mean, I'm always going to take these victory laps when I'm right about shit. I was kind of early to the Baker to Deshaun swap was a mistake for Cleveland. And I was, I say sometimes, like, I'm not always right now, but I am always right. And I said 2 years ago, I was like, I don't see this ending well. And everybody was like, no, Baker's toast. Then he went to Carolina, looked horrible. I don't know, man. I think if they could do a trade right now with Tampa Bay straight up, they'd do it. So
yeah, 100%.
Careful what you wish for. It's don't try to happy.
Baker's not the best quarterback in the league, but he was the best quarterback in the league last weekend.
Yeah, and I don't think Deshaun will ever be a top
really
5
close.
in any week.
No, God,
yeah,
no.
I'm with you.
He sucks. He can't. He's not a playmaker anymore. He can't make play. That's what was so good about him initially, when he was with the Houston Texans. He was like such an elite playmaker. He can't do that anymore.
No. And I mean, there's no vision. There's no accuracy. There's nothing. There's nothing to hang your hat on. You have no. What does Joker say? You have nothing. You have nothing to threaten me with. That's how defense feels when they play him. It's like, well, he's not going to take off and run because he's not that dynamic. He's not going to throw. He's not going to carve us up because I mean, his accuracy to me is the biggest issue when I watch him play. I'm like,
it's terrible.
I mean, he threw, what was it, 3 or 4 balls in that game, in that Dallas game, that were just, they were nowhere burgers, like just going 40 yards away. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't see it. I think their goose might be cooked, but it'll be interesting to see if they can, put some flex tape on it with the win against Jacksonville. But I'm with you.
They damn near need to bring Jameis in and just let him roll.
Yep. I think they're a couple weeks away.
I think that team would absolutely cook if Jameis Winston came in. And
it'd be better. Jets versus Titans. Let's get kind of funny, right? Because we're kind of in another battle here with sketchy quarterback play. I mean, 2 guys that we liked a lot going into this year in different ways and let us down tremendously in week 1 with Jets Titans. Where are you on this game? I think you and I are both kind of on the same team here with this, but give me your thoughts.
It feels like a Jets get right game. I think the defense looked really sloppy against San Francisco. But again, week 1, nobody played in the preseason. It's almost like a preseason game. And then, anybody who watched, the Niners got out to a quick lead. And it's hard to catch up from that, They were kind of doing whatever they wanted to. Now, you're playing the exact opposite offense, right? You went from a kind of an offensive genius in Kyle Shanahan who can clearly just plug and play anybody and it works, to a guy in Will Levis who we watched hand a win to Chicago because of boneheaded decisions. Yeah. And he will definitely make boneheaded decisions this week. It's just kind of who he is. Now what I hope is that you see a couple of flashes so that we can kind of salvage this thing, but man, last week it's a confidence killer, man. I mean, that's when you're up with such a degree and all you have to do is just maintain in the second half and you literally fumble the ball that gets picked up, you couldn't complete a drive and then a punt gets blocked for 6 and then you throw like an atrocious pick 6 for them to take the lead. It's hard to recover from, man. And then having a team that kind of is going to have a little blood out for them, I think. If I know Aaron, I've watched a lot of Packers teams get punched in the face week 1, and then the next week they look fucking really good. So
I think they're going to look really good this week, and
I do too.
I'm with you, man. It sucks because I've talked a lot in this episode about victory laps. I might have to just take a lap on the Will Levis stuff if this continues. That's fine. Listen, I'm not going to get all these right of being like, I think he might have a good year. What sucks is you had the gimme last week. You had the game.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have it this week. You're just not. I just don't see a world where the Jets let the Titans cook offensively on this defense. I'm with you. I think this will be the week that we see kind of potentially the fool's goldy thing with the Jets that you and I bought into preseason. Like, this will be the week that gets everybody back on the bandwagon. You know, a couple
100%.
Garrett Wilson touchdowns, a couple Brees touchdowns, some Aaron Rodgers darts. You know, what I will say is I do think this Tennessee defense is a tad underrated. Some of this talent looks really good up front, even. So I don't know that it's gonna be this like insane blowout game, but I think I'm with you. I think New York Jets should take care of business pretty soundly, and if they don't, you know, then they're entering the panic chamber, and everything is just thrown to the wind. Buccaneers versus Lions. Let's get to our Lions. Lions, Bucks. Bucks are coming into Ford Field. 1:00 game. Bit of a grudge match for Tampa Bay after kind of the close call in the playoffs that ended in heartbreak with the Baker pick. And it's interesting because I think everybody's picking the Lions. I think you and I are picking the Lions, right? We feel pretty confident in that. I'm not going to pick against my Lions, but we touched on this in the preseason stuff with our Bucks breakdown, right? Our season preview stuff. Are they the best team in the NFC South still? I mean, I know it was like weird when I said it, and it was like, oh, well, you know, the Falcons, and everyone picked the Falcons and rushed to the Falcons. I've talked a lot about this virus of like this replacement virus that happens in football with fans and with everybody, where it's like this disease of like rushing to throw away what's happened and replace it with something else. I don't know, man. Tampa Bay looks like a really competitive football team. What I will say is I just think the injuries in the defensive backfield, to me, I think the Lions are a 13-14 win team. I'm picking the Lions in every single one of these. You guys can skip this if you're not interested in hearing about Lions. But it's not an indictment on Tampa. I think Tampa looked really good last week, and I think they'll be right back in the playoff mix this year. So, what say you?
In efforts to just not say what you just said, I'm just gonna paint a picture. You know, Detroit's coming off of a Sunday night game, emotional. Stafford comes back. You know, it's one of those games where there's a lot of hemming and hawing beforehand, jawing at each other. You know, Penei Sewell's been hurt all week. Jameson Williams got hurt in practice, so that they haven't really practiced this week. You have a Bucs team who's coming off like a very dominant win, like against what is probably the worst team in the NFL. So it's a little false reality. But there is a world where they come out with just a little confidence and punch us in the mouth, and it's just a little too much to overcome. You know, they end up winning by a touchdown. I don't want to. I'm not going to pick against the Lions, and I'm not really picking the Bucs. I'm just painting you a different picture that wouldn't surprise me. You know, it's similar to last year with Seattle, and they came into our house week 2, and they just kind of punched us in the face, and we couldn't really recover, and it was a high-scoring game. We just couldn't get over the hump. And would it terribly shock me if that's kind of how this played out? No, it wouldn't. So again, I'm going to go Lions, but I think the Bucs absolutely have a chance here. I'm not writing them off as some like easy dub.
No, I totally rock with the devil's advocate thing. That's fire. I mean, it's and let's be real. Let's be totally honest as a couple of Lions homers, right? Like,
no, we didn't look that good last week.
Were your secondary questions with our defensive backfield answered or quieted at all last week? Mine weren't.
Hell no.
I mean, there's still time. There's still time.
It's hard because I thought Terrion looked good, but he was just a little handsy. And Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, and they're just gonna do what they do. You know what I mean? Like they're special. I don't care who's lined up against Kupp. He's getting what he wants. You know, you can put Jalen Johnson, Jair Alexander, Patrick Surtain. It doesn't matter. He's gonna go out there and do what he does. And I think the benefit that we have is that you do have a Carlton Davis now who is very familiar with the system and is going to know kind of what's going on there. You have DJ Reader coming back, so the run game is cooked. Baker's going to have to throw it a lot, but
But he can.
again,
And we've
he
been
can
got
fully,
over and over
fully he
again in
can,
the secondary for the
fully he
last 3
can.
years.
I totally agree.
We didn't dispel that in week 1. Although I do agree
Yep.
with you. I'm just kind of doing my version of the devil's advocate
No,
thing where it's
100%.
like, are we sure the secondary's any better? Like, really? I didn't see it week 1.
I think it's better.
So do I. But you know what I mean.
But not like, wow, the secondary's top 5, right? You know what I mean? Like
it's
the
not
secondary,
there.
if it's not there yet, I think it'll get there, but it's going to take some weeks. And what it'll be interesting to see what Terrion does. He'll probably be lined up on Godwin, I would assume, just because CD3 is going to know the Mike Evans thing. Like, you know what I mean? Again, like these are guys that went up against each other in practice for years. So Davis is going to know his ticks and his things, right? And that might eliminate Mike Evans, but that also works in Mike Evans' favor too. He knows Carlton Davis. Oh yeah, he's going to bite when I do this, you know.
Keep an eye on Jalen McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some flash of special from him last week.
He looked really good.
Keep an eye on him.
Really
If he gets behind our secondary, he might be he might have that breakout rookie game that we hope Marv has or something like that. I don't know. Right. It's just a thought. Raiders versus Ravens. This is tough because it's Ravens Raiders here in Baltimore. I hate to do this because it's just so it sucks because you and I are king devil's advocate. You go ahead and start this. I'm out on this Vegas thing, man. Give me an argument.
I got none for you. I think Antonio Pierce is a bad coach. I think you hired a guy who's not a good head coach. Like he's not the problem is like I think Antonio Pierce has the capabilities of being like a Dan Campbell culture guy, but what makes Dan Campbell work is Ben Johnson. What makes D'Amico Ryans work is Bobby Slowick. What makes these defensive head coaches work and is typically being paired with a really good like top 5 OC and a DC that they trust, right? Antonio Pierce he has Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy sucks. Everybody in the NFL knows that. Why he would ever hire him, I don't know. So now you look at the Davis family and you go, okay, yet again, you made this weird hire. I don't really know why you did it. And then you look over at like Max Crosby and Devontae Adams who like champion this guy. And you go, okay, so you kind of placated to your 2 superstars, which I do understand. But was that the right move as an owner? Was that the right move? Was that the right call to go hire Luke Getsy when you could have brought in somebody just else? You know what I mean? Like you could have went out there and kind of went like the Seattle route of getting like a hot coordinator in college, or you know, maybe going and overpaying like a Cliff Kingsbury who was rumored to go to Washington, right? You could be like, hey, but you can come here and we'll pay you a little bit more, you know, something like that. They're fully cheap. You go get a guy who was objectively awful in Chicago, and then you didn't bring in a quarterback, and it's kind of like I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't feel bad for you. What I would like to see is them completely blow it up by the middle of the season, and
I think that will.
You know, trade Max Crosby and trade Devontae Adams, fire Antonio Pierce, and fully start this thing over, because you have to. It's so like the writing is so on the wall right now. You have to start over.
It looked really bad. It looked really bad week 1.
You move forward with Christian Wilkins just because you just paid him, but he's young. You know what I mean?
This is tough because it's Ravens Raiders here in Baltimore. I hate to do this because it's just so it sucks because you and I are king devil's advocate. You go ahead and start this. I'm out on this Vegas thing, man. Give me an argument.
I got none for you. I think Antonio Pierce is a bad coach. I think you hired a guy who's not a good head coach. Like he's not the problem is like I think Antonio Pierce has the capabilities of being like a Dan Campbell culture guy, but what makes Dan Campbell work is Ben Johnson. What makes D'Amico Ryans work is Bobby Slowick. What makes these defensive head coaches work and is typically being paired with a really good like top 5 OC and a DC that they trust, right? Antonio Pierce he has Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy sucks. Everybody in the NFL knows that. Why he would ever hire him, I don't know. So now you look at the Davis family and you go, okay, yet again, you made this weird hire. I don't really know why you did it. And then you look over at like Max Crosby and Devontae Adams who like champion this guy. And you go, okay, so you kind of placated to your 2 superstars, which I do understand. But was that the right move as an owner? Was that the right move? Was that the right call to go hire Luke Getsy when you could have brought in somebody just else? You know what I mean? Like you could have went out there and kind of went like the Seattle route of getting like a hot coordinator in college, or maybe going and overpaying like a Cliff Kingsbury who was rumored to go to Washington, right? You could be like, hey, but you could come here and we'll pay you a little bit more, something like that. They're fully cheap. You go get a guy who was objectively awful in Chicago, and then you didn't bring in a quarterback, and it's kind of like, I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't feel bad for you. What I would like to see is them completely blow it up by the middle of the season, and
I think they will.
Trade Max Crosby and trade Devontae Adams, fire Antonio Pierce, and fully start this thing over, because you have to. It's so like the writing is so on the wall right now. You have to start over.
It looked really bad. It looked really bad week 1.
You move forward with Christian Wilkins just because you just paid him, but he's young. You know what I mean?
I think keep Crosby no matter what.
I think you have to, but like, man, the draft capital you could get for Crosby would be worth hearing offers, because somebody.
Yeah, you could Herschel Walker that thing if you wanted to.
That's my point. You know what I mean? Like you could go to a team. You could go to a team like us, right? Like a Detroit, where he's from here. We're Super Bowl contenders. We kind of need that second edge piece. And you could be like, hey, I need 3 first-round picks. And like Brad Holmes would have to really think about it. It wouldn't be like, that's egregious, I'm hanging up. It would be like, well, this is Max Crosby, and we're in a Super Bowl window. Maybe, you know what I mean? The Rams would do it. We've seen it. They would do it. They would be like, yeah, screw it. They're not, Niners would probably do it. There's a couple of teams that I would truly believe would like really give up like 3 first-round picks for Max Crosby, and it wouldn't be egregious. It would be like, yeah, I kind of understand that. So, yeah, but I'm with you. I think ultimately he's too important to the franchise for them to like actually realistically think about trading him. But sometimes you got to just cut your losses and be like, hey, bro, I need capital. This team is so far away.
Yeah, I mean, and I think to sort of like piggyback off that, I think that the argument in the other direction for Baltimore is just obvious, right? Like, I think a lot of the stuff that we talked about preseason with Baltimore, with the loss on the offensive line, with the dominance, kind of similar to Miami in a different way, more so like San Francisco, where it was kind of like, I just don't know that you're going to dominate the league again. And it feels to me like Baltimore isn't. And you saw them go into Arrowhead and lose week 1. To me, that was very predictable. I wish I would have, there was no odds really to like make money on that game, but I would have placed 10 bets for Kansas City. I felt like Baltimore had no shot. But it feels like home opener off a loss week 2. This is just going to be light work for Baltimore. Like I think they're going to dominate this game. It's just. They're going to be a really good football team still, I think. I'm not like selling my stock on them. I just think they got a little worse. And that's, that doesn't mean much. They were the best team in football last regular season, in my opinion. So what does that really mean? Rams versus Cardinals. This one to me is the hardest, and I don't know where you stand on it, but it's the hardest game for me individually to make my mind up on. We got Rams at Cardinals. Um, you want to try to get this one first because I know where I would stand preseason, but the Rams are very decimated offensively with the injuries, and I think
Yeah, Rams
Arizona's
are
okay.
decimated. Yeah, you have a defensive-minded coach who's going up against, a top 2 offensive mind, top 3 offensive mind in the league. Um, it's tough. It's kind of a toss-up. I think I'm going to go Rams narrowly just because I believe
Yeah.
in Matthew Stafford more than I believe in Kyler. But if Kyler and Marv can get things going, if Kyler and Trey McBride can get things going, if Kyler can just get in rhythm, really, kind of the same way he did in the first half of that Buffalo game. Kind of like I said about the Lions Bucks, like there's a world where they come out there and punch them in the face a little bit, and it gets a little too much to overcome.
Yeah.
I just don't see a McVay team starting 0-2. I just don't. I like those kids. I think Jared Verse looked really good. Kobe, whatever his name is.
Parkinson, tight end.
No, Kobe on the D end, the defensive tackle.
You talking about Kobe? Well, there's Kobe Durant is their corner. He looked pretty good.
No, it's Kobe something. He's on the D line. I can't. I'm blanking. I just kept wanting to say Kobe Bryant. And it's clearly not that.
No. He plays on the Seahawks.
Yeah, right. That kid's pretty good. I don't know. I give me the Rams. Because I'm with you. It's tough. It's tough. I want to just be like Rams fully. It's the Rams. It's Stafford. It's McVay. But the Cardinals did look good.
They did. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think I'm with you. I think it's going to come down to like who do you trust in the fourth.
Kobe Turner.
Yeah. I know that too. I don't know why I didn't just say that.
Yeah,
I was worried about getting it wrong.
No, I fully blanked.
I think for me it's similar. I think why I would take the Rams is kind of that same thing. It's like the Arizona Cardinals. We talked about this a lot preseason. It's a team that we're really excited about, but defensively they are really bad. And I know they have a defensive head coach, but we said this with our team breakdown. It's like I really want to make this my sleeper team, but I think they need like another draft and another free agency fully for this defense to even be like competitive. And I think they're bad defensively on personnel, and I think the Rams are kind of bad defensively. So I just think this is two teams that are going to go back and forth a ton, and I think ultimately I just trust. I'm with you. I trust Matt Stafford in the fourth a little more.
But there is a world where it's like same reason with the Lions. It's kind of an emotional game. Stafford has to go back to Detroit. You lose in a nail-biting kind of heartbreaker game. You then have to fly in the middle of the night back to California just to wake up the next day and go over film. And then, you do your walkthroughs, you do your practices, and then you got to fly to Arizona. Not that the flight to Arizona is anything more than about 45 minutes, but still, it's 2 back-to-back away games. Like, that's tough. That second week is rough. That's a lot of travel in 7 days' time. So... there's definitely a world where Arizona can win.
Yeah. Bengals versus Chiefs. Bengals Chiefs. I think my take on it, honestly, is that this is a really, really, really fun matchup in name only. I think Cincinnati's going to start off 0-2. I think the Chiefs. Yeah. I think the Chiefs look like the Chiefs of last year, except for their offense is better. I just don't see a world where defensively Cincinnati can hang. I think for a while, even without T. Higgins at receiver, I think for Cincinnati this week, I think Cincinnati might be able to hang offensively for a little while in this game. Could be back and forth for 3 quarters, but ultimately, I just don't see Cincinnati with this particular roster at this particular moment going into Arrowhead and winning this game. I don't know. That's I'm very brief on this. It's very clearly Chiefs for me.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati's lost all its juice.
Yeah.
No juice.
They got to get it back, but this isn't the game to get it back.
Chase has no juice. There's no juice on that team right now. And yeah, I like the Chiefs soundly.
I'm leaving the door open for that to change with Cincinnati. I'm not throwing away the baby out with the bathwater, but this isn't the week. It's just, I think it's going to be clearly Chiefs. Steelers versus Broncos. Steelers Broncos for one of the honorable mention of the snooze fest game of the week. A game that I will be watching pretty begrudgingly, if I'm being honest. Like Rams, Cardinals, Bengals, Chiefs is going to be on, and I'm going to have to like pop this on just because I'm doing this now, and I want to keep it fair to every team. I'm watching every game, so it's like, here we go, I guess. Throw that boy on in the corner, but I actually like the Steelers in this because I think that Denver is totally rebuilding. I think that preseason hype that happened was a bunch of fucking baloney. Yeah, and I saw a team last week in Seattle that has no standouts at any position. Like their quarterback is a rookie, and he seems to be a very, like, no offense to him, kind of a low ceiling rookie, which is a bit concerning. I don't know who their studs are offensively. I mean, really, I've told Javante's pretty good. I think he's cooked. I'm told McMillan's pretty good. I think he's a one-dimensional player. I think Sutton's a little bit past his prime, and he's a downfield guy for a team that doesn't run a downfield offense. I just don't see anything offensively. And defensively, I think Surtain is good. I talked about it beginning of the year. I think guys like Benito off the edge, I think they've got some decent young pieces, but it's not a great defense. It's just an okay one. Pittsburgh, to me, they're going to win a lot of games ugly. And I think they're going to be able to play full-blown bully ball at Mile High this weekend and just walk out of there with a win. I think their defense is dominant. And, I think could Denver roll the dice and pull something out of their hat, Sean Payton style, and pull off a win against this very mediocre Steelers team? Yeah, I think it's totally possible, but I'm not betting against the Steelers, not when they have a unit that's dominant that you saw last week completely take Atlanta's lunch money in a game where they didn't score an offensive touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.